set in a world where daylight burns and the night is haunted by shape-shifting monsters, No, I Am Not a Human is a weird and deeply unsettling horror game. It keeps you paranoid and on edge without ever relying on cheap jump scares. Just warped faces, dreamlike conversations, and an atmosphere so thick with dread that you'll question what's real and what's already inside. Greetings and welcome friends, I'm Ash, and I have seen a lot of horror games try to do the whole papers please but scary thing. But the freshly updated demo for No, I'm Not a Human is the first one that really sunk its claws into me. You might ask why, to which the answer is, just look at it. The game looks absolutely awful, and I mean that in the best way possible. Everything feels like a half-remembered nightmare. The distorted faces, the warped bodies, the strange little quirks. Even the most normal guests feel like they're wearing a human suit that doesn't quite fit. And that is before you even consider the shape-shifting monsters, the so-called visitors. Each night, an assortment of bizarre people will bang on your door, begging to be let inside. Some are terrified and seeking shelter. Some are there purely for the hell of it. Others are so unhinged you might actually believe their nonsense stories about fate and prophecies. In this situation, any reasonable person would just go nope and immediately barricade the door. But alas, you need them as much as they need you. For whatever reason, the visitors can only take you if you are alone. So as much as letting someone in carrying an actual corpse sounds like a bad idea, the alternative might actually be worse. And that is exactly what I love about No, I'm Not a Human. You are not some distant arbiter of justice judging these weirdos from behind a comfy desk. You are right there in the muck with them. From their perspective, all you really are is a paranoid recluse with a shotgun threatening to shoot them in the face just because they shaved their armpits. But here's the thing, the paranoia is justified. There are deadly monsters out there, and they are almost indistinguishable from the people they're pretending to be. Sure, some of them do slip up. Many of them are too clean, too perfect, things like sparkly white teeth despite years of smoking, or perfectly smooth armpits in a world that has gone to hell. Some say they have crawled out from the underworld, so maybe you'll also spot cracked fingernails or bloodshot eyes. But the problem is, normal people can be strange too. Scavengers aren't known for their great hygiene, and a traumatized survivor might not be willing to let you poke and prod them all morning. So even with a handful of daily tests, and you only get a few, it is often impossible to be certain. And that is where the tension comes in. Do you shoot someone who might be a monster, even if they're crying and begging you not to do it? Or do you let them go and risk someone else disappearing because you hesitated? If you're looking for a straight answer, I'm afraid there isn't one. No, I Am Not a Human keeps things intentionally ambiguous, so you never truly know who or what you're dealing with. You're forced to make snap judgment calls with massive consequences, because once someone is gone, they are truly gone. There are no second chances. Just a nasty stain you'll have to clean up, and a faint hope that maybe, just maybe, you've done the right thing, if that is even possible. That is probably my favorite thing about the game. The visitors aren't grotesque abominations smashing against your doors. They are perfectly normal people with something nasty inside of them that occasionally bubbles to the surface. They often aren't even aware they're not human, which makes dealing with them all the more agonizing. The one that really stuck with me was a girl I met on the very first night. She had just escaped a horde of visitors and was desperate for shelter, so naturally I let her in. But while talking to her, it became increasingly clear that she is one of them. She remembered them doing something to her before escaping, and after that her memory is just gone. Despite all of these warning signs, I kept her around for a couple of days, hoping beyond hope that I am wrong. I am still not sure if I'm glad I did that or not. She wasn't a bad person, and she genuinely believed she was human. But with each test and each conversation, she started to realize the truth, that she wasn't. And instead of lashing out or trying to run, she just accepted it. Even at the very end, she was just very, very sweet, which made everything feel so miserable. And yeah, I really hated making that choice. It sucked. But getting that kind of a gut punch reaction is exactly what I want out of an atmospheric horror game. It is the end of the world. It is not supposed to be sunshine and roses. So as much as it hurts, and as much as it's going to stick with me for a very long time to come, I am really glad No, I'm Not a Human did not pull any punches. Ending someone's life, even in a video game, should not be something you just walk away from unchanged. Another thing that really stood out to me was the writing. I don't know if it is brilliantly surreal or just poorly translated, but either way, it is consistently off in a way that perfectly complements the weird visuals. Everyone talks in this cryptic, stilted way that makes even the most normal human interactions feel completely and utterly alien. It all gives off that I sort of remember this conversation from a dream vibe. You get just enough information to piece together what's happening, but never quite enough to actually understand it. It also doesn't help that many of the things you talk about are completely unhinged. Literally, every single person seems to have lost their mind. So much so that when someone casually mentioned the cacophony of voices in their head, I didn't even blink. It was just another Tuesday. What really piqued my curiosity was how sometimes you can glean tiny shreds of prophetic wisdom from what seems to be total nonsense. Are these characters actually special, or am I desperate enough for an answer that I'm willing to believe anything, no matter how deranged, just because I'll have at least something to hold on to? Honestly, I have no idea, but what I do know is that I am dying to learn more. I realized that when the demo ended and my very first thought was, wait, I didn't get to speak to Grandma! The one character that I never really got used to was the Pale Stranger, the lovely chap that is the star of my thumbnail. He is the only visitor who is openly hostile, and the only one that doesn't bother with a disguise. Whatever he is strong enough to tear through a well-armed group of soldiers without breaking a sweat, so I can definitely see why he is so brazen. You sadly don't learn much about him in the demo, but I do have a very distinct feeling that he's going to play a very, very important role in the full game. He just has that kind of presence. Powerful, imposing, and honestly, impossible to look away from, even when he's reveling in his own brutality. And you know what the scariest thing is? The longer I played, the less convinced I was that my character was even human. The visitors are described as paranoid, erratic, and sometimes extremely violent. So what did I spend the whole game doing? Interrogating and shooting people based on the most absurd of pretenses. But there is another, more intriguing clue. At one point, a lady in a wheelchair knocked on my door. She was genuinely surprised to see me as she thought her friend still lived here. A friend that lived in this house for many, many years. Someone she trusted. And instead of them, it was me, a paranoid recluse that nobody really saw or heard from before the world went to hell. And since we cannot test ourselves, a fact that few people actually comment on, I would not be surprised if it turns out that we were on the wrong side the whole time. Also, that maybe visitors aren't as exclusively cruel and inhuman as the late night news might make them out to be. Now, is any of that actually true? I honestly have no idea, but it is certainly a lot of fun to think about. And that's pretty much how I feel about No, I'm Not a Human in general. I still don't really understand what's going on, but its world is so strange, so unsettling, and so unique that I am more than happy to go along for the ride. So if you're into slow burn horror that doesn't rely on cheap tricks or lazy jump scares to mess with your head, I would definitely recommend giving the free demo a try, and maybe even keeping an eye on the full game as it creeps towards release. There really is a lot of potential here. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this, or even if you didn't, please do let me know. If you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, ring the stupid bell, pet your favorite weirdo, and do whatever other nonsense you gotta do these days. Thank you for sticking to the very end, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye!